Welcome back to the channel, guys, for another video. This one's going to be about the 50-30-20 rule of budgeting. And to start off, a lot of people actually get really confused about the concept of budgeting, believe it or not. A lot of people think when they hear the word budget or you need a budget, they automatically correlate that with you don't have enough money, you aren't good with money, or you have to exclude all fun from your life and you basically have to just focus on the things that you really need. And that's not the case at all. Budgeting is going to relieve a lot of financial stress because you're not always going to be worried about if you can afford something, even if it's just as small as a $10 item. In the book, I Will Teach You to Be Rich, he talks about a concept about where you really don't need to start a business or have this ridiculous amount of income. You just need a couple of small wins in life and apply yourself, like get a good job, learn how to invest. Those basic things. He also talks about how there should be a couple of things in your life where you should spend money on that you're passionate about and you shouldn't feel bad about it at all. So for example, say you really like to go out to eat and you really like to travel, and that's two of the main things that you really enjoy, then you should set aside money in that in your budget, and you shouldn't feel bad about going out to eat a couple times a week or a few times a month and traveling maybe every couple of months or however often. But the problem comes with that, where say you like to travel, you like to go out to eat, you want to have an expensive car, you want to have a big house, then that's where everything starts to get out of whack. You got to pick a couple of things and just focus on those two things and then try to keep the other expenses minimal. I personally think that's a great idea, and I try to do that myself, because you really don't want to live life doing nothing and just saying, no, I don't want to spend a single dollar, I want to stay here, I don't want to do anything. You want to live your life, but you also want to set yourself up well, financially in the future. Budgeting is also going to help you see where your money is going. If you're someone that's always concerned about money, where it's going, etc., and you just feel like you never have enough and it just keeps funneling out of your checking account, by creating a budget and looking at your statements, so your credit card statements, debit card statements, whatever receipts, you're going to be able to see where your money is going, and that's going to help you be able to allocate it a little bit better. It's also going to allow you to stay organized, pay down debt, create an emergency fund, and start investing. But people still don't want to worry about budgeting. They don't want to budget because they just think it's too much, like they just can't deal with it, it's too much stress. So as I talked about a little bit before, we're going to talk about the 50-30-20 rule of budgeting, which is very simple. You can probably lay this out in like 15 minutes. And a little bit of a side note, this is probably going to be easier if you have multiple accounts open rather than working out of one checking account or savings account or whatever you work out of. The first step in doing this is seeing how much you make after taxes. So literally go and look at your pay stub, look at your bank account if you get direct deposit, and just look at how much you make every week, every other week, every month, whatever, after taxes. Done? Good. Go you. Now, in order to implement this budget effectively, you're first going to need to know where your money is going. So go look at your bank account statements, checking account, go look at your credit card statement, anything that can tell you where your money is going. And if you don't have any of those for whatever reason, or you can't look at them, then just track your money for a month. So say June 25th is when you decided, I want to start this budget, you can't find anything. So just continue your life on normally, continue spending normally until July 25th, and then just reevaluate after that. After that, you can get to the first step, which is the 50% in 50-30-20. Which is going to cover your needs or necessities. You're going to want to do everything to get your needs under 50% of your after-tax income. This is going to include things like housing, groceries, utilities, those type of things. Things you need to survive to keep a roof over your head so you're not just rotting away. Very basic necessities. This isn't going to include things like restaurants, drinks, Amazon Prime, umbrella hats. Those are all wants, which we'll get to in a little bit. Try to look at the 50% of needs as something that you can't forego, and if you do, it's going to really affect your quality of life. So don't give up food, maybe give up the Netflix or the Hulu that you haven't used in 3 months. Now with this one, you might need to get a little creative depending on your situation. Obviously, if you're making $12 an hour, it's gonna be a lot harder to get your needs to 50% than someone who's making $30 an hour. So to get really creative, you might have to do things like move into a cheaper apartment, get a roommate, maybe change where you shop for groceries, cancel some subscriptions that you really don't need, stuff like that. And if you really look into it and you really try to break down everything, I'm sure there's going to be a way to get all of your needs under 50% of your after-tax income. Moving on to the 30%, that's going to be your wants. And this isn't supposed to be anything like really extravagant, like humongous, that's going to put you in debt forever. But this is going to be something that you really enjoy to do. So maybe going out to eat, buying a new pair of shoes, or buying new clothes, something that you genuinely enjoy. And this is going to be a real eye-opener for a lot of people, because once they set this 30% threshold, they're gonna be like, wow, I was spending a lot more before and I didn't even realize it. And I'm by no way saying don't spend money on things that you're passionate about, because you obviously have to spend money to keep yourself happy to some degree. And it's just not worth continuing to live frugally, hoard every single dime you can if you really can't enjoy it to some degree. But I'm saying just be smart and make sure you're buying things that you actually want and you actually enjoy. Don't just buy the first thing you see on Amazon because you're awake at 3 o'clock in the morning and you have nothing to do. I'm also saying do this stuff in moderation. Obviously, if you go out to eat every single day, or if you buy a new pair of shoes or some new clothes every single day, that's really going to add up over time, and it's really going to put a strain on your budget. And then that is going to be a situation where you're just like, where did my money go? And then you open your closet and you can just be like, that's where it went. And for the final threshold, which is the 20% window, this is going to be saving and investing. So this is going to be things like a 401k, a Roth IRA, an IRA, or an emergency fund if you don't have that started or yours has been going down a little bit. Now, if you've noticed in previous videos, I've always said you should aim to save and invest 30% of your income. So basically what I've done here is I've kind of flipped the wants and the investing. I definitely spend probably less than 20% of my income on wants, and I probably invest and save over 30% of my income. This is something I would recommend trying, because if you can really nail this down, it's gonna shave years off your projected retirement age. But if you can't, this is still a great way to get started, just the 50-30-20 principle in general. This might also be easier now when there's a virus going around that limits what you can do, for the record. You can also use this 20% window for debt repayment. So say your credit card bill, your minimum payment is $75 every month, and once you go through your needs, your wants, and you get down to 20% and you have $200 left over, you can put that $200 towards that debt repayment, towards that credit card payment, if you would like. And if you aren't near this 20% threshold, and maybe you haven't started investing yet, there's really no reason to feel bad about it. Believe me, there are tons and tons and tons and tons of millennials that do not invest 20% of your income. Like you can't even count the number. It's a lot, let's put it that way. Now, one little side note I want to make before ending this video is, although you should stick to these numbers as much as possible, it's okay in some situations if you go over them. So you go over a little bit of 50% needs, or maybe even a little bit over 30% wants. There's an exception to every rule, and it's going to be okay at certain times. Obviously, during normal weeks where I guess you're going to work and just coming home and you're not really doing anything, stick to it as much as you can, dot your I's and cross your T's. But as I just said, there are certain circumstances where it's okay to go a little bit over. You might be moving and you might need to buy a new mattress, I think is a really good investment because it's basically investing in your health. Or maybe you need to put a down payment on the house, or maybe you need to put first and last month's rent, or maybe you just need to buy basic cooking supplies to be able to cook. Or maybe for a wants category, you went on vacation and you budgeted for it, but you are gonna go a little bit over, and as long as you're not putting yourself in any credit card debt or anything, it's okay to go a little bit over and enjoy yourself, because sometimes you only get to experience that vacation one time in your life. Bottom line, stick to it as much as possible, but don't feel bad if you go over a little bit from time to time. Let me know in the comment section down below what budget you guys use, what you thought of this method, and what you think is the best method to use. Thanks guys, and I'll see you in the next video.